Imagine dropping $1 billion to build a massive floating luxury city on the ocean. Or better yet, spending $2 billion on a high-tech, heavily armed naval warship. Now, what if I told you there's a machine out there that costs just as much, but it isn't built for luxury and it isn't built for combat? Instead, it's a giant, monstrous block of raw steel designed specifically to survive a head-on collision with the most violent, freezing, and unforgiving environments on planet Earth. Today, we are diving deep into the world of heavy icebreakers. We're going to look at the jaw-dropping engineering behind these beasts, the skyrocketing costs of building them, and the intense global chess match happening right now in the frozen north. We'll also uncover why one of the world's wealthiest superpowers is currently facing a massive, devastating 60% cost increase just to get its newest fleet off the ground. And finally, we will look at how another nation used a fleet of nuclear-powered monsters to quietly seize control of the future of global trade. When most people picture an icebreaker, they think of a giant snowplow. They imagine a ship with a razor-sharp front end slicing through the frozen ocean like a knife through butter, pushing the ice to the left and right. But if a captain actually tried to do that in the Arctic, the result would be catastrophic. The ship would hit a wall and stop dead in its tracks. You see, sea ice isn't like the cubes in your freezer. In the far north, you have what's called multi-year ice. This is ice that has survived summer after summer without melting. Over time, it gets packed down so tightly that it loses all its salt and hardens until it's literally as tough as solid concrete, reaching thicknesses of 10 to 15 feet. To beat an opponent that tough, you don't try to cut it, you have to crush it. This is why an icebreaker doesn't have a sharp front. Instead, it features a blunt, rounded, spoon-shaped bow. When the ship approaches a massive ice sheet, it uses its immense forward momentum to physically slide up and on top of the ice. Once the front of the ship is resting on the frozen surface, gravity does the dirty work. The ship uses its own mind-boggling weight, often tens of thousands of tons, to press down. Ice is incredibly strong when you squeeze it from the sides, but it's weak when you bend it downward. The weight of the ship snaps the ice from above, shattering it into giant pieces that slide safely underneath the hull. But doing this over and over requires materials that feel like they belong in a sci-fi movie. Normal steel becomes incredibly brittle when temperatures drop to 50 below zero. If it gets hit hard enough in that kind of freezing weather, ordinary steel will shatter into pieces just like a pane of glass. Because of this, these ships are wrapped in highly specialized cold weather armor plating that can be more than 2 inches thick. Inside, a dense web of thick steel ribs absorbs the brutal, constant shock of slamming into frozen walls. And then, there's the friction. Rubbing 30,000 tons of steel against a frozen ocean creates an unbelievable amount of resistance. To keep the ship from getting stuck like a cork in a bottle, engineers use some brilliant tricks. The hull is coated in an ultra-slippery paint, and giant pumps blast high-pressure air out of holes near the bottom of the ship. These bubbles rush to the surface, creating a literal cushion of moving water and air that lets the ship slide forward effortlessly. If the ice still manages to grab hold of the ship and freeze it in place, the vessel has a secret weapon. Powerful internal pumps can instantly shift hundreds of tons of water from the left side of the ship to the right side and back again. This rapid shifting forces the entire massive ship to violently rock side to side, literally shaking itself free from the ice's grip. To push a giant mountain of steel up onto concrete hard ice, you don't need high speeds. You need pure, raw, unstoppable turning power, what engineers call torque. These ships use massive engines, but those engines don't actually turn the propellers. Instead, they act as massive generators to create electricity, which then powers giant electric motors. This is crucial because an electric motor can give you maximum pushing power, even when it's barely moving. If a standard engine's propeller hits a massive block of underwater ice, the engine might stall, or the metal shaft could snap clean in half. But an electric motor, it just keeps pushing with absolute relentless force until the ice is chewed to absolute pieces. When you combine the specialized steel, the spoon-shaped hull, the bubble systems, and the electric drive, you get a machine that only a select few nations on Earth have the money or the know-how to build. And right now, one major superpower is finding out just how painful and expensive it is to learn that lesson from scratch. That superpower is the United States, and right now, they are finding out the hard way just how brutal the learning curve can be. For decades, the U.S. Coast Guard has been relying on a tiny, aging fleet of icebreakers. In fact, their only fully operational heavy icebreaker is a ship called the Polar Star, and it was completed all the way back in 1976. That means the U.S. hasn't built a brand new heavy icebreaker from scratch in nearly 50 years. To fix this growing problem, the government launched an ambitious plan to build 3 brand new state-of-the-art heavy icebreakers. Back in 2019, they estimated the whole project would cost around $3.2 billion. But a recent official report brought some incredibly bad news. The estimated cost to build these 3 ships has skyrocketed by a massive 60%. Experts now believe the price tag will hit roughly $5.1 billion. So, why did the price jump so drastically? Put simply, America forgot how to build them. When you haven't manufactured a highly specialized machine in half a century, predicting the true cost becomes almost impossible. The builders ran into a perfect storm of massive price increases for raw materials, constant design changes, and a severe shortage of experienced workers who actually know how to weld and shape that ultra-tough, cold-weather steel. On top of that, the report pointed out that just keeping these 3 ships running, paying for fuel, regular maintenance, and the crews to sail them over their lifetimes will cost taxpayers another $12.4 billion. Because the struggle is so real, the United States recently signed a historic agreement called the Ice Pact with Canada and Finland, hoping to share knowledge and figure out how to build these crucial ships much faster. But while the US is struggling to get just 3 new ships in the water, Russia is operating in a completely different league. They currently have a massive fleet of over 40 icebreakers. More importantly, they are the only nation on Earth that operates a fleet powered entirely by nuclear reactors. To them, the Arctic isn't just some empty, frozen wasteland at the top of the world. It's their most important national highway. The Russian economy relies heavily on selling energy, specifically the massive deposits of liquefied natural gas and oil buried deep beneath the freezing northern lands. Without a way to transport those valuable resources through the frozen ocean all year round, billions of dollars would be permanently trapped behind an unbreakable wall of ice. By utilizing nuclear power, these Russian icebreakers can sail almost indefinitely without ever needing to pull into a port for fuel. A nuclear icebreaker can plunge straight into the darkest, coldest depths of the brutal Arctic winter and relentlessly smash through concrete hard ice for months on end without stopping. This massive, unstoppable fleet gives them total control over what's known as the Northern Sea Route. Think of this route as a massive shortcut across the top of the planet. Normal cargo ships traveling between Europe and Asia can save an absolute fortune in time, up to 40% faster, by taking this northern shortcut instead of going all the way south through traditional shipping canals. But here's the catch. You cannot navigate these incredibly dangerous icy waters safely without a massive icebreaker clearing the path ahead of you. Because Russia claims the waters surrounding this route, and because they are the only ones with a heavy-duty fleet capable of keeping the lanes open year-round, they essentially run the ultimate global toll booth. If any country or international shipping company wants to use this shortcut to save time and millions of dollars, they have to play by Russia's rules and pay them a massive fee to guide them safely through the ice. It's a high-stakes game of global trade and survival. And now, you know exactly why these massive steel monsters are worth every single penny. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.